back to the ME7 podcast. As you can see, the man to my left, our COO, Paul Fisher. How are you, buddy?
Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, welcome to the third floor of the football club, and you haven't got the elusive orange curtains because they're next door.
Oh, we tried to get in there.
Yeah.
I did mention to you. Oh, should we do it? Should we do it with the orange curtains?
Yeah.
We did suggest, but this is more of a comfortable surrounding, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so. A bit more comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. Last night. Wow. Taking a breath.
Well, it was great. I mean, I thought it was an iffy first half. I think we've sort of come into terms a bit with a change in midfield or whatever. But second half, I mean, I thought the place was rocking. It was fantastic, and I was right behind Ollie's header, and as soon as it left his head, I was up out on the seat.
Yeah.
Giving it some before it even hit the back of the net. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I was in the Rainham end, sort of direct in line with it, and sort of as soon as that neck power it hit his head, you kind of, it was one of those ones left his head. You knew it was in. Yeah,
definitely. As soon as it came off his head, but it was a great. I got home about midnight, and I stayed up and watched it sort of till about 1:15. I was buzzing. I couldn't get asleep, and I watched the goal a couple of times this morning as well. So it was great, fantastic, great.
Nothing
night.
better than win under the lights as well.
Yeah, when it great, when it great to see. And I just remember, what's the great thing I thought was just seeing how many kids were here again. It's half term. We had lots of kids come to the Crawley game. And, I remember my first memories of coming to the Gills was probably when I was about 10. And, walking up over the steps with my dad, walking up and seeing those floodlights on the pitch. And, it's floodlit football just sort of brings it alive to you. And it's kind of what hooks you in, isn't it? And it was great seeing some of the kids last night.
Yeah. To be fair, I did see you comment on one earlier. And it's brilliant to see, isn't it, is that I've certainly over the recent weeks, I'm seeing more and more younger fans coming into Gills now, and it seems like we're really sort of growing that part of the fan base even more now, where the younger children are coming into Priestfield.
Yeah, well, we've been doing. I don't want this to be too corporate tonight, but we've been doing an under-14s. Kids go for free all season. Maybe we've not publicised it as much. Maybe. Just because we weren't doing so well, people didn't want to come along. Yeah, there's probably a bit of that. But I think the Crawley game sort of just seems to have galvanised the whole community together. And I think, obviously, Brad and Shannon and all the PR and all the publicity around that. I just think it's great to see, kids. I went out to get a sandwich lunchtime, and it's good to see a couple of kids walking down the street in Gill shirts rather than Man United and Liverpool shirts.
We've had enough of that.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had enough of it around here, haven't we?
Exactly. It's about time people wear Gill shirts again.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about coming to Priestfield as a little lad, and obviously seeing the lights and things like that. And let's find out a bit more about you, because obviously I know. We've done a lot of chats, and you've done a forum, and it's all very sort of corporate and everything else. But you've made it plain clear you are a Blue, you are a Gills fan, a heart. Where did it all start from a young age?
Well, I was born just down the road. I was born in Pier Road in Gillingham, right opposite Axo Chemical Works. So that's probably why I'm like I am. I was born literally down there. And sort of, born and bred. Well, sort of then, parents moved out to Rainham when I was, when I was pretty young. Went to school round here, usual sort of stuff, and went off to university, and I've always been a Gills fan. I came along. My dad brought me here when I was about 10, I think, probably in the mid-70s, and I've got some great memories. I can remember the Jerry Summers sides, the Keith Peacock teams. I remember going up to Colchester when we had to win up there, and I think Trevor Lee scored a couple of goals against us and cost us promotion. And, then when I was in my sort of, late teens or sort of 17, 18, when, me and my mates all got our first cars, travelling around the country watching the Gills. And, I think my first sort of memory of sort of being a fan, a bit like I see all the young lads on the Rainham end now, was, when we had Swindon in those, in those playoffs. And, went down to Swindon. And then we had the third. We had to play a replay then, if I remember rightly, because the rules hadn't changed with the away goals, and so we all had to go to Crystal Palace. And I remember going up to Crystal Palace with me 3 mates in my mates, full Cortina, and coming back from South London was not quite the night we had planned, if I remember rightly. But that was a bit disappointing. But so I've been a Gills fan all my life, really.
Greatest game, greatest memory?
Well, probably my greatest memory I think would probably be because I came back here after university, played a lot of sport, lots of football around here, so pretty well known. But I was working when I came to work for the Gills first time round.
Yeah.
Clearly the greatest memory I had was the first Wembley appearance against Man City. Who could forget that?
I mean, a lot of people might want to.
I know. Well, I was here at the club then. I was kind of finance director here then, and the memory I had was actually the build up. The week when the tickets went on sale, I had all the tickets, but I had all the tickets in a cardboard box, all got delivered from the EFL. People wouldn't realise this, and they all got delivered, and they're not our tickets in effect because they are the Football League's tickets, and the club sells them on their behalf. All goes into the mix, and then you get divvied up your share afterwards. But so you're in effect putting them on sale for the league, and we got them all delivered here, and Paul, bless him, had sort of, disappeared because it was all, he was doing a lot of media stuff, and I was having to sort of make it happen here at the club. And I thought, well, we were going on sale the next morning, and I thought, well, I can't leave them here at the club because these tickets were probably worth about £4.5 million, So I took them home. I took them home with me in the boot of my car.
Oh wow!
And then I had them all round my front room floor. I was living in Lower Housetow at the time, and you had to take out the segregation, and then you could put the others on sale in the morning. And I just remember walking in here. I had this cardboard box with about £4.5 million worth of tickets to go on sale, and I just pulled up. And all these people had camped out the night before, and I just walked past with all these tickets in this cardboard box. Morning.
Yeah, you don't know what's in here.
You don't know what's in here. That's my kind of big memory, really. And then the great memory was obviously at Wembley on, was it the Sunday, I think, our game? Was it the Sunday? It was just a fabulous day. I just remember standing out under the old Twin Towers, looking back down Wembley Way, and just seeing all the Gills fans coming up from Wembley. It was just, I did have a tear in my eye, I have to say.
What might have been?
And but what people forget, we went back the following year and, beat Wigan. So,
I mean, that must have taken some sort of guts. Because you can almost have a playoff hangover after that, can't you? Because it can really affect you, but to simply go again.
Yeah, well, I think that season, if you talk to some of the lads, I think there was a bit of a hangover. I think, we didn't start that season. I think it was the 2000 season. I don't think we started that too well. And in the end, I think we had to go up to Wrexham and beat Wrexham to get automatic promotion. And I remember I travelled up to Wrexham that day, and I think we drew at Wrexham rather than got the win, which meant we then went in the playoffs. Yeah. And that was the year we beat Stoke, and I still talk to Hesse about it. I still always have to make him a coffee and talk about his goal away to Stoke, really. So so we still talk about that. But I mean, that was a great memory, and then Wigan. But probably my best memory was the Man City day. I just thought it was incredible for Gillingham because it showed me what the club can be. That's what I mean.
I know you mentioned it at the fans forum, didn't you? That how powerful that the attendances can really be here, and I think you and Brad got it absolutely spot on when you said there's been so much talk about new stadium and Paul's had to bat it off and talk about it. But I thought you and Brad absolutely hit the nail on the head. Until we feel this place, there's no point.
Well, look, the club's declined a bit, hasn't it, since those halcyon days, and. But it's great to see. I think we've bottomed out now, and hopefully we're on the up. And I think that'd be a lovely problem to have when we're filling Priestfield again. Then we can start worrying about a new stadium. Yeah, absolutely. Then obviously you went off. You left the Gills. Yeah. Was it hard? Was it hard to walk away? Yeah, it was, because Gillingham's in my heart. Yeah. But it was one of those kind of moments in your life, really. I think just kind of. The planets were aligned on various things. I got a really good job offer to go into horse racing, and so you have to think of yourself. I just got married, all them sorts of things. So, it just felt like the right thing to do at the time. And I think the club as well. I think we were the club was in good shape. We were in the Championship, but it was just the right thing for me to do from a career point of view. But I was still a season ticket holder. I still came back and watched when I wasn't sort of having to go horse racing every Saturday. But so I went off to work. I went off to work for the Jockey Club, and the Jockey Club owns 15 of the biggest racecourses up and down the country. And I ended up becoming CEO there, and I was running. I was in charge of Cheltenham, Aintree, Epsom. So all the sort of the Derby, the Grand National, the Cheltenham Festival. I was responsible for all of them really, which for a boy who'd been born down in Pier Road and never seen a horse, it was quite,
daunting.
It was I kind of managed to blag it for 20 years really, and but I ended up owning horses and stuff, so it was good. Yeah, it was a great environment.
I mean, considering you were involved in it for 20 odd years or whatever, I think you probably did more than blag it.
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. I met some fantastic people, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Oh yeah, I love horse racing. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those sort of events sort of throughout the year. So I think my favourite is Cheltenham. I love Cheltenham.
Yeah. Well, all that new stand and all that sort of stuff I did. I was responsible for overseeing all that, all coming on stream and building all that. So it was it was great experience.
So for all its success, the one man we've got to thank is you.
What,
is that what it is? Yeah, all of it.
It was a good team. It was a good team. But I did, I found a good way of raising some finance for it, quite innovatively. But all my time in horse racing, I really tried to improve that sort of day out of the races for people. Yeah. I was really big on customer experience. We were well resourced. We had money we could invest. But we did lots of really good things. We brought music into race courses. We had the concerts after horse racing. I was just really trying to make it more than just about the horse, the actual racing. I was trying to make a day out of the races a proper day out for people, and I'd like to think, we got it about right on most days. Yeah,
I'd say so. I think every sort of event that you look at now, like, people always seem to be having a good time. There's always things going on. It's busy. Like, it's popular events throughout the year, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I was really big on. I recruited some really good people and I helped develop them as well. It's great to see them all now after I've left. They've picked up the, they've picked up the bat and are taking it to the next level, which is great. Excellent.
Obviously, you come back here early August last year.
Well, it was a bit before that. Yeah. People didn't probably realise, but I was kind of slightly operating beneath the radar.
Okay.
Sort of Paul. I obviously stayed in touch with Paul, and Paul and I have been good friends for a number of years. And Paul rang me sort of, I guess, in the spring really, and said, look, I'm struggling a bit. I'm not in the best of shape.
Okay.
And I'm going to need your help again really. And I'd set my own company up with my old boss at the Jockey Club, and we had some time I could sort of devote to the football club, and and I just wanted to get back involved because it's in my heart really, and I was just conscious. One, I didn't like seeing Paul as he was. Secondly, I didn't like to see Gillingham Football Club as it was. I was disappointed what we'd become. Yeah. Because I thought we were losing our way here really, and I'd like to think I could. I did want to think that I could make a difference. So, and hopefully, we can see where we are now. Hopefully, going in the right direction.
Well, you've definitely done that. You've definitely 100%. I think I can speak on behalf of all Gillingham fans. You've 100% made a difference.
It's too now. It's not just me. It's everyone. But at least we've sort of arrested the decline, haven't we? I think.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Is it? I mean, going back to that stage where you first got the call off Paul. I mean, was it difficult? I know to say no, because obviously you're speaking from not only a businessman point of view, but you're speaking from a fan, and you can quite quickly let that fan take over and go, is this the best option?
I know when Paul rang me, I had a couple of days around Paul's house having numerous cups of coffee and too many biscuits really with Paul, and I did think, at the time I thought, I can't go back, I don't want to, much as I love the club, I can't, but then Paul's a great salesman as well. He's the best salesman I've ever met. And, but I was, this place kind of, it's my heart really. I kept thinking it's my heart all in my head, and then I sort of laid awake at night, and I was in a position where I could devote some time to the club, and it, from a family point of view, it's, I'm only an hour's drive away from the club now, so it kind of just worked. It just worked, and I really mean it. I just was really conscious. This club is better than where it was at that time, and I wanted to help if I could to turn it around again.
Yeah, I suppose in a way, because obviously Brad mentioned about him doing his due diligence on a football club as well. Did you have to do a little bit of that? Did you have to sort of look into what you were getting into?
Yeah, obviously, I did actually.
As much as saying yes, it's okay, but yeah.
I mean, I had a colleague who sort of joined me in here, a finance guy who works for my company, and we kicked the tyres a bit really, because I thought, is it a basket case? Can we turn the club around?
Yeah.
Is there lots of things that we just don't know about? But I came in. I did do a bit of due diligence on the place, and I just thought, we got a chance of turning the place around really.
Yeah.
So that's how it did work. That's exactly as it did work. So I did do a bit of due diligence before I committed.
Because that's the thing is that it looks from you and the guys have done so well, because it looks like from sort of an outside point of view that you've just tinkered things slightly and just tipped the iceberg, and it seems like, but you've probably done an awful lot more than that, because
as I say,
you've made it look simple, but it probably hasn't been.
Well, you all thought, everyone thought I was only back here in August, but I was working bloody hard all summer in the background, doing that due diligence, seeing what could be changed, what was too far gone. Was the club too far gone? We did. It's been 6 months of really hard work to get where we are today. But it was pretty clear to me very early on. I said this to Paul. I said, look, Paul, it's pretty clear here. We've got to get some investment in the club. We've got to get some investment in the club, and Paul knew that. But I think having somebody like myself sort of telling him that as well, I think helped him sort of cement his thought process a bit.
Yeah, because I suppose in a way I know he's been saying it for quite a while about investment and things like that, and needing it and everything else. But sometimes in any sort of walk of life, it's not until someone comes from the outside that's not been in it for a number of years to go, no, you really do actually need to sort this.
And I think that's right. I think those were lots of the discussions Paul and I was having over the summer really, and that's why we then got serious about trying to find the right investor for the club. Yeah,
which you obviously have done. I mean, Mr. Brad Gillingham arrived sort of around Christmas. I mean, he started his due diligence, he said, at the start of the year. But when was the first initial chats with Brad?
Well, we sort of started, as I say, sort of August, September. Paul and I got very serious about starting to market the club, and we had a lot of interest out there. There was a lot of interest, but I think the world of football does attract all sorts of people when a football club's up for sale. And there was the inevitable time wasters. There was the inevitable sort of people who come in and promise you the earth, and then you don't hear from them again. And you can spend, and Paul had, Paul handed me a file of people he had been talking to over the years, and there was a file that thick. So Paul had been really busy over the years, but we were talking to. We were talking to probably 4 or 5 groups who were quite serious, and we were doing due diligence on them. But it was quickly apparent to us, this would have probably been about sort of October, November time, that Brad and Shannon were probably the right fit for the football club. Because it's important, I think, in any company, if you're selling a controlling interest in it, that those people are the right fit for that company going forward. And it's even more important for a football club. And Paul made it quite clear to me that he was only going to sort of sell the club or sell a controlling interest in the club to somebody who cared about the club. Not somebody who wanted to come in and asset strip the club, or because there's so many horror stories in football. And as much as the EFL have all their fit and proper tests now and all that, you're never quite sure. Quite sure. So, as I say, we did a lot of work. Paul and I did a lot of work, and it was pretty clear Brad and Shannon were the right people to proceed with, and so we then had quite a few weeks then of negotiating the deal, and you hand it over to the lawyers, and that all gets a bit interesting. But we completed on, I think it was about 5:30 on, it was 5:30 on the 23rd, which was the Friday before Christmas. So
best Christmas I've ever had.
Yeah, well, everyone had gone, certainly from here, everyone had gone up the pub.
Yeah.
Everybody had gone up to the cricketers, I think. And I think, Paul was at home.
Yeah.
I was in, we were, Paul and I were in contact, hoping various things were going to get signed. And we completed about, I think it was about 5:35. And then I think we put an announcement out, if I remember rightly, pretty sharpish after that.
You did.
On the Friday evening, because we were conscious, we wanted wanted the fans to know about it.
Yeah.
So
what did you do when you got off the phone? Was it a little fist pump?
Yeah. Well, interesting. Some of the ground staff and some of the guys at the club here, they all went. I was getting texts from them saying, "When are you going to buy us a Christmas drink?" So I had to shoot up the cricketers and buy them all a drink before I could sort of let my Christmas start.
Yeah, I think one of the questions that has not been asked, and there's a lot of sort of surrounding Brad and Shannon and what they bring and everything else, and it's great, and they come in with so much like enthusiasm and things like that. But why? But why Brad and Shannon? What did they do so well to stand out from the rest?
I think they showed Brad had a lot of knowledge of English football, which wasn't always the case with some of the people we were talking about. I think it was pretty clear they got the community piece, and again, being from round here, I just know how important Gillingham is to the Medway towns and the community, and I think I did a pretty good job of selling them the story about the potential of the club, because Brad had been looking, they'd both been looking at a number of other clubs up and down the country. There was we had to do a sales job on them as well, and. Yeah, I think it worked just well. It just seemed like the right fit. Yeah. They were asking the right questions. Yeah, and
it just felt right.
And they a bit. I think from their perspective, it's probably a bit like if you go and look at a house. Yeah, you go and look at a house. You walk through the door, and you just kind of just know, don't you? You know. It's,
absolutely.
You do just know when you walk through the door, and I think it was a bit like that with them, with Brad and Shannon. They asked all the right questions. We were having a lot of Zoom meetings and things, but they were asking the right questions. Whereas one or two of the others we were talking about were not asking the right questions, and I just felt that Brad and Shannon just got it. How a football club works, how the business of a football club should work, and just how important the club is to the community. Yeah,
I suppose it helps as well that when you speak about obviously being a salesman to the club and speaking to Brad about trying to send us, speaking from a fan and being a Gills fan, it helps.
Yeah, I think so. I think I helped sell the dream. Yeah. I think I helped sell the dream, and sort of going back to those kind of Wembley appearances. And, I've just always felt, probably as coming from the Medway towns, I've always felt we've kind of undersold the area a bit, and the potential of the area, and I think maybe the football club has slightly reflected that. Yeah. And again, when we were in the Championship, I was still living around here then. The towns were buzzing. Yeah. It's just so good for the community.
A lot of people forget that we were in the Championship for 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people forget that.
Yeah, but I just remember. What was the best year? Did we come 12th or 11th or 12th one year? And I just remember. Fans were then thinking, why are we not pushing for the Prem? You just think, wow, what we'd give to be back in the Championship.
Well, we had a future England star in Matty Jarvis playing for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was, it was good times. It was good times. Obviously, Brad come in, and then he decided that he was going to announce his first signing. Tommy Nichols.
I think he's officially in love with Tom Nichols. So
I'm not surprised.
I think he's officially in love. I think I think Tom's a great player. I think he's a really good player.
But obviously from a point of view, I know we've heard Neil speak about it, about January and how it's gone, and it's been an amazing window. And now we look back on it, it couldn't really have gone any better. But sort of from a ball point of view, what were you looking for in terms of play? You and Brad, what was your aims for January?
Well, the good thing was I probably had less of an involvement in the January side, because I think the two most important appointments were even before that. I think were when, was with Kenny and Hess. I think getting Kenny and Hess in, you immediately got two absolute, consummate professionals in, really. And I think at that point things changed. It wasn't just Neil and I and somebody talking. You had Paul with all his contacts in the game. You had Kenny with all his stats and all his contacts in the game. And you've obviously then got a Hess with it. Hess has got a great eye for a player, certainly in the lower divisions.
Yeah,
I've got total respect for all those guys. Total respect for them. So I kind of had less of an involvement in the January side, and those Paul, Kenny, Hess did a fantastic job, I think, along with Brad, obviously, who was learning along the way and adding some input into it. So, I just thought the great thing was as well, we were really clear that we wanted to have players who were ready to go from January the 1st.
Yep.
It was no good getting the signings in on January the 31st, because we could have lost another 3 or 4 games there and be really starting to fall away at the bottom of the table. So what was great, we got the deals done, just after Christmas, and so Nichols and people like that, they were ready to go straight in the side as soon as they were eligible to play.
I can't believe how well they clicked. That sort of first, I think it was Hartlepool where we saw all of them together.
Yeah.
Sort of obviously it was Ollie, Tom, Tim. Trying to think of more.
Yeah, but they're all experienced players.
Yeah.
I think that's what we signed. I think what we signed was experience. If you look at our ages, this was experience.
Yeah.
And, they're intelligent players. I mean, I think, again, even last night, just some of the moves that, Tom makes and stuff. And then you've got Ollie, who's just, what a header last night. But, the amount of work these guys put in, and the battering he takes as well, and he keeps getting up. And,
Proper Gillingham centre forward, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Hess said to me, sort of over, I think I saw him on, I think it was New Year's Eve, actually, because we all went to Paul's house for a bit of a New Year's Eve bash. And I was talking to Hesse there, and we were saying Gillingham had to get its identity back and what the club stands for. And Hess was really big on that. And he said the players we sign have got to know what Gillingham stands for. And I think we've signed Gillingham players. I think we've signed Gillingham players. Hess and I were talking about, the good old days, and, the Carlos Sabas, the Rob Taylors, the Paul Smiths, the Barry, people with that sort of character, really. And I think we're signing those sorts of players now.
I agree. Like I think a lot of people don't obviously notice sort of the off the ball stuff, but I certainly have noticed Tom and Ollie's off the ball stuff. They are exactly Gillingham strikers down the years where they just do not stop working for the side, and it's like the good old saying starts, isn't it? Is that sometimes your defence starts from your forward line, and Tom and Ollie are the pinnacle of that. They are perfect at doing that.
Yeah, and I've always liked intelligent footballers.
Absolutely.
I think players who can spot a pass, players. And I watched Tom Nichols, and again last night there was one second half. His first, he makes 2 or 3 yards just with his quality of his first touch. There was one second half, dropped over. He was over sort of left wing position, and I think before the ball even came to him, he'd looked up and I think he'd seen Macca running down the right, and he just one touch, bang, threaded it across to Macca, who ironically I think overrun it and it bounced over his head. But it was a fantastic pass.
Yeah.
And it was a first time pass. I thought, wow, that was like intelligence. Yeah, it's quality really. It's quality.
Yeah, and players throughout the years, we've always had those players that sort of get you off your feet. I mean, certainly going back to sort of the era that I was I've been going regularly, and I mean Cody McDonald is certainly one of them that. Yeah, he'd just take a game by the scruff of his neck and right, I'm going to go and win this. Yeah,
but he obviously with Cody, he operated with a partner, didn't he? He needed the big man up front for the flick-ons to him, and he used to play on the on the last shoulder and sort of get those flick-ons and then go through and slam it in the back of the net. and I'm, with Ollie and with Ollie and Tom, you feel like we've got a partnership, and then we got quality sitting on the bench now as well. We got quality sitting on the bench. How good was Aidan
last night when he came on?
Fantastic, yeah. I really like the look of him. I think he looks a really, puts it about a bit. Again, another Gillingham player with a Gillingham sort of character, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest sort of credit we've had out of the window, isn't it? Is that not only have we got the right quality in player, we've got the right heart in terms of players that want to come and play for us, not just because they're kind of signing for the journey. They want to come and sign for us because they want to be a part of Gillingham Football Club. Yeah,
no, I think that's right. I mean, you talk to Hess. I haven't seen a couple of younger lads play yet who we've signed, but Hess is saying, these 2 or 3 younger lads we've signed, they're in it for the longer haul with them. They're a project. They're all projects, and Hesse talks, he waxes lyrical about them.
Yeah.
And he thinks they've got huge potential for next year and beyond, really. So, because we've got experienced players, but you have to think about next season and the season after that, and we've now got some, we're starting to do that thinking, and we've got structure in the football club that's enabling us to do it. And, and let's not kid ourselves, we've also got the resources to enable us to do it, which is, so the planets are all pretty well aligned, really.
Yeah, because I can imagine, certainly like the signings of Ethan and Jaden, they're very much going to be, when Neil mentioned about a potential under-23s team and things like that, they are sort of perfect for that mould, aren't they, of that structure aligned with the first team.
Yeah, and I think that's something that was sort of lacking in the football club. We were expecting some of the, lads, 17, 18-year-olds, to come and sit on a bench, maybe come off the bench and do a job, in League 2 football.
Yep.
Okay, you might be able to get away with it maybe in the Championship, maybe League 1 when it's a little bit prettier football. But League 2 football, we all know what it's like. It's aggressive, it's physical. I describe it sometimes as cross between football and WWF wrestling. It's like you've got to be able to handle yourself. You've got to be a man. And sometimes the lads at 18, haven't quite developed. They're not quite ready for it.
Yep.
Young Joe, Joe's built like a middleweight boxer, isn't he? But they're not all like that. Some of them develop a little bit later.
Yeah.
So I think, we had that sort of gap, I think, in our structure.
Yeah.
So I think sort of, I certainly know, we're seriously looking at under 21s for next season so that we've got that kind of interim step.